Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, June 29th, all the way through to Sunday, July 5th of 2020. And this week we are going back and revisiting a ton of Capricornian energy. We have the second of three passes of the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction kicking off the work week on Monday. We have Saturn retrograding back into the sign of Capricorn, and we have the final eclipse in Capricorn in an entire 2-year series of eclipses in the signs of Cancer and Capricorn. And so this is sort of the grand finale of the Capricornian energy, or at least the beginning of the grand finale, because we're going to be experiencing this sort of revisiting of the Capricornian energy through to the fall. And this is the beginning of that period. And so this is the final push, the final restructuring, the final transformation phase in the Capricorn area of our charts and lives. This is where we're finalizing something and we're like just super over it, right? It's kind of like we've been there, we've done that, we've been pushing, facing a lot of challenges, doing a lot of work to transform, to change, to restructure, to re-solidify and grow our foundations in a certain area of our lives. And this is sort of that grand finale. This is where we're starting to see the full manifestation, the full results of what it is that we created. However, we're not all the way there yet. It's showing us not only the results and sort of it's a reap what you sow energy right now, where things are coming to fruition. We're coming to this culmination point. It's being illuminated, right? Did you do the work? Were you taking responsibility for the challenges that you created, or your contribution to the challenges that you've been facing in your own individual experience? Or have you been neglecting that or blaming others for your problems? That's a big one here, because this is an energy about self-responsibility. This energy is going to be illuminated huge, tenfold this week. And anywhere where we have not been taking responsibility for our experience, for our lives, for the challenges that we need to face, and for our contribution to creating those challenges, not only on an individual level, but on a collective level too. It's like, look at where we're at as a society right now. And are we happy with this? And how are we enabling or contributing to the problems that we're facing right now in our society? Are we helping or are we hurting? Are we just enabling people to continue to do things in a way that is not necessarily the best? Are we working to create the system that we want as a society? Or are we not doing that at all, right? Are we just like blaming other people or letting other people do the work? What is your contribution to what's going on right now? So that's going to be a big question as well. So basically with this eclipse, this full moon, which is a penumbral lunar eclipse, which is sort of the weakest of the eclipses, there's a lot of intensity still around it because it's the grand finale, the final eclipse in Capricorn, and the full moon always illuminates something. And the full moon eclipse, so like the lunar eclipse, always illuminates something. So this is going to illuminate what we have sown and what we're reaping from that. And also it's going to illuminate where we have not lived up to our own expectations, where we have not been facing the challenges or doing the work that we need to do. It's going to show us where we have not been taking responsibility for our own actions, our own lives, and our own experiences. And wherever and whenever that's the case, we're going to have to change something. This is the final chance. We have just a few months left to work with this energy and to push forward with whatever it is we want to create here. We can go back and revisit it. We can see it clearly right now. And once we see it clearly, there's a final opportunity here to let go of the things that don't serve us in this area, to let go of old karma, old habits, old structures, old rules, old conditioning that we've been adhering to for far too long on an individual and also a societal level. And we have a few months, at least until November, December, to really work through this energy and work on this energy. And so this is going to be reflecting on an energy, especially this week, that came about first and foremost at the start of this year. And so that's when we started to have a global crisis. We started to have a lockdown. And this is where a lot of the weaknesses in our society and the structures of our society were very much revealed. So a lot of the things that started to crumble were things that were already weak and that would crumble if there were any sort of stress put on it. The same thing goes on in our personal lives. So this showed us where there were weaknesses, where there were cracks, where there were, cracks in our foundation, right? And where we need to either reinforce that foundation or scrap it completely and build something new. That's what was revealed to us during that time period, and that is coming back around right now. So whatever is coming back up for you, you're going to be revisiting a lot of those same themes. This is probably not going to be a new energy. So if you had a lot of challenges that came up in the spring, it's not that you're going to have new challenges necessarily. You might have additional challenges related to those initial challenges, or you might be revisiting that challenging energy, that turbulence in some way, especially if you didn't face up to it, especially if you just sat there, woe is me, oh my goodness, and didn't actually put in some sort of work to face it, to restructure it. And I know a lot of people are suffering. I know a lot of people have been facing hardship, and it's not everyone's necessarily individual fault, but you do have to look at where you've contributed, or where maybe you haven't noticed that there are these structures in your life that are not solid, and they're starting to crumble, they're starting to break down. And so how are you going to fix that? What are you going to create in that space where these things are crumbling? That's the question right now, and that's going to be the big energy this week. And this is like the start of something. This isn't just this week, this is the beginning of that final phase of restructuring. And again, this is going to last through the fall. So whatever is coming up for you this week, themes that you're revisiting, signs, synchronicities, eerie sorts of energies where it's like you feel like this is important for some reason, people that are showing up in very synchronistic and karmic ways, anything that feels out of the ordinary, pay attention to that, because these are signs. The eclipses do this, and it could be that this is something that you're going to be experiencing a change with now and in the next couple of months, or it could be foreshadowing for the future. So you want to be like writing these things down, paying attention, keeping them in the back of your mind, because it's really a form of guidance. And if you really focus on these things and pay attention to them and just kind of say, I wonder what that's about, have it in the back of your mind, have the wheels turning subconsciously from now in the meantime until the change occurs or until the opportunity presents itself, you're going to be better off for it. So that's really what we're going on here, what we're getting into here, and what's going on this week. And I hope a lot of you watched the start of this video and the start of all of my videos, because there's usually important background information to help set the framework for your weekly forecast. And in this particular forecast, that's especially important. So, listen to the starts of the videos if you can, or if that feels good to you, just because, I'm giving information that's going to be a background, and it's going to help you to understand the individual forecasts a lot more easily. But basically the time frame, because a lot of times when I don't mention the dates, people ask about them in the comments. On Monday, that's when the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction comes exact, but this is an energy we've been feeling for a couple of weeks. We're in pretty much the entire year, really, but it's been very strong the last couple of weeks. It'll be very strong for the next couple of weeks, the entire first half of July, and so that's a big energy. Saturn retrogrades into Capricorn on Wednesday, July 1st, and so it's going to be there all the way through to December. I believe it's December 17th is when it goes back into Aquarius, and that's where it's going to stay, make the grand conjunction with Saturn or with Jupiter, and that's where it's going to be for the next couple of years. And then obviously the eclipse energy. This is a penumbral lunar eclipse that's happening at 13 degrees in the sign of Capricorn, and also Cancer in opposition with the sun. And this is going to be happening on Saturday, July 4th. Some people, depending on where you're at in the world, it'll be on July 5th. And this is an energy that also is going to be a part of the United States solar return. And so the last time, and I've mentioned this on my social media, the last time we had an eclipse on the US solar return, or near the US solar return, was 2 months prior to 9/11. I'm not saying that that's going to be like a 9/11 type of event that occurs because of this, but what I am saying is that on an individual level, in your personal solar return, when you have an eclipse, it's a life-changing year. When it happens in the solar return for a certain country or governmental body, then it's kind of a similar thing. It's a life-changing year, or it's a year that changes the trajectory of that country's fate. And so things will shift, things will change. We're already seeing that. We don't even need this eclipse to know that, right? So That's a part of this energy. And also there's like astronomically something a little weird going on where a lot of planets are on one side of the sun. And so I posted about that on social media, and it like went like mini viral. I've never had so many people sharing one of my posts before. Astrologically, there's not a lot of meaning behind that, because from an astrological perspective, we're looking at the way the planets are positioned from our perspective here on Earth, as opposed to from the sun's perspective, because this is traditionally how it's done. And so there's not a lot of information I can give on that, other than the fact that there's going to be a huge pull on one side of the sun. I would look into some of the space weather people and some of the astrometeorology people to get some indicators for what that could bring, in terms of just the actual physiological impact. But, eclipses in general are usually associated with higher rates of things like volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, weird weather, right? So extreme weather. And that has to do with the gravitational pull that it occurs because of the eclipses. And so, I don't want to speculate about this because this is not my area of expertise. But it seems like it could do something or be significant in some way. So if that's something that feels interesting to you, do your own research and look at what's going on there, because it is kind of interesting, at least to look at. And it looks intense, but we'll see what actually occurs with that. So anyway, that's what's going on there. And then in terms of the forecast for all 12 signs, I'm going to start with Aries, and I just have one quick announcement this week, and that is that my summer electional astrology guide is now 30% off. You can still get a lot of really incredible information all about the best and worst energies to utilize to ensure that you are successful in whatever you want to accomplish this summer in July and in August. So we're kind of at the end of June now, so I've discounted that electional guide, but there's still so much important information in there. And if there's something you really want to do this summer, that you want it to be successful, this will help you to set the tone for that, to create this sort of energetic intention using the astrology to ensure that it'll be much more successful, and that you can accomplish what you set out to do. And so that's especially important right now because we're coming into a weird period. I've already started looking at the fall electional because I'm starting to work on the fall electional guide. And there are some windows. There are definitely some windows, but it's a little dicey. That Mars retrograde and that Mars square to the stellium in Capricorn, it makes things challenging. And then we're going to be coming into another eclipse season at the end of the fall. And so you kind of want to get your ducks in a row now if you can, just because there's a little bit, it's sparse already this summer in terms of like good electional. I picked out some really great dates, but it is a little challenging throughout the entire year. The fall, there's going to be a little bit more difficulty in finding good elections. So I just want to let you guys know that. So anyway, 30% off. Link is down in the description below. My summer electional astrology guide. It's not a guide for the elections because sometimes people think that, like the presidential elections. Electional astrology is the term that astrologers use for choosing or electing the best possible dates to initiate something of importance. And so that's what that is. All right, so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries. And all of the cardinal signs, including Aries, are going to be feeling this really, really intensely. And so for Aries and for Aries rising, you've been going through a major restructuring where you've been letting go of something related to your career and public standing, where there's been a lot that you've been having to deal with in terms of hardship, restructuring, overcoming challenges. You might be having these periods where you've been working and toiling away and not seeing any results, and then these huge bursts of success or recognition that sort of come in between this with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. This is a week that's going to highlight all of those things. And so if there's an area in your career or in your public life, in the and what it is that you're putting out into the world that, first off, is weak or faulty in some way, where you've been blaming others for your misfortune with your career, or where there's an area that you're just not in alignment with what you truly and deeply desire for yourself in your career, or where you're holding on to something from the past related to your career path that is just past its expiration date that you need to let go of. This will be highlighted this week for you, and this is going to be the beginning of a journey of finalizing that restructuring, finalizing your plans, aligning yourself with your truest desires, and letting go of all the nonsense and excess and anything that is not that, and anything that is faulty, anything that is not stable, not solid in your career path. You are letting go of that. So do that this week. Focus on it. Set some goals, set some intentions, and whatever comes up for you in that area, pay attention, because it is very, very important. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, this is the final restructuring for you. This is highlighting all of the work that you've been doing when it comes to reforming and changing your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you. This could be also the culmination of some sort of educational pursuit that you've been working on and really toiling away at. There could have been a lot of delays and challenges related to your education, related to travel plans or connections with people in foreign countries, and also a lot of challenges to your belief system. The way that you view the world. Your worldview is changing in a major way, and you're having to align yourself, your personal identity and experience and goals and orientation with these newfound beliefs. And so it could be that you are experiencing these major periods of challenge and delay when it comes to all of those themes, but then all of a sudden, in little bursts here and there, you're having these major transformations where all of a sudden everything is changing all at once, and you're having huge bouts of success. This could be related also to things like publishing or to teaching. It's not necessarily that you're taking some sort of educational program or that you're engaging in education yourself. It could be that you are the educator, and all of a sudden you're becoming very successful, or you've launched a book and all of a sudden, and it like nothing's happening, and you're like, oh my goodness, and then all of a sudden it goes crazy and you have some sort of success. This is a time, though, where if your belief systems are rigid, dogmatic, faulty, if you're adhering to rules and regulations when it comes to your mental state and your framework for this reality, just because it's what you're being told, as opposed to what you know to be true, it's going to unravel. It's going to be revealed to you. So this is going to be a restructuring of the mind, a restructuring of your mental perception of this reality, your higher perspective on what all of this means and what all of this is, and aligning that perspective with your goals, your direction in life, and the way that you show up in the world. And so that's going to be a big energy here. There could be something that you need to let go of that comes up this week related to travel plans, educational pursuits, things of that nature. But for the most part, this is kind of a better energy for Taurus. If you are anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees in the sign of Taurus, it'll be trining your ascendant. And so this could bring powerful, manifestations of things that maybe came around but never fully took hold in the springtime. They can come back around. You can revisit those themes, and you can start to finalize that energy. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this energy is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debt, joint finances, other people's money, fear, power and control, past trauma, anxiety, and deep, deep healing, especially on a psychological level. And so this is going to be a time where you're going to have to be facing your fears. I mean, this is a Gemini thing right now. Facing your fears, digging in and looking at the things that you don't want to look at that cause you anxiety. Looking at how your past trauma and your past experiences are holding you in fear and controlling you from the inside out, controlling you subconsciously. This is a great time to engage or revisit some sort of therapy program or some sort of deep exploration through some sort of shamanic work or deeper healing work that you've been wanting to engage with or needing to engage with and avoiding it. Because if you've been avoiding it, if you haven't been taking responsibility for your past trauma and for your healing process, then this is going to be, a kick in the pants. This is going to be like, oh my goodness, I haven't been dealing with this. It's all coming up right now, and I feel overwhelmed. I can't handle it. This is the final chance for you to work through this and let go of this energy. This could also bring up a lot of change, challenge, fears, transformation around your financial situation, especially debt, taxes, joint finances in marriage or in partnership with somebody else or other people's money in general. This could be a custody situation where you're dealing with, things like child support. This could be some sort of legal battle. This could be dealing with insurance companies and insurance payouts. But if there's something that came up for you in the spring involving these themes, it'll come back around and you're going to have to revisit that energy and finally get your ducks in a row. If your structure when it comes to those types of themes, your investments are faulty or there are cracks in them and they're not necessarily secure, if you have debts that are really weighing you down and bogging you down, if your partner's finances are a mess and maybe you're not taking on that role of helping them through it, these are all things that you're going to have to revisit and you're going to have to look at. And this is your final chance over these next few months to transform it. It's going to be highlighted in a big way for you this week. And so it'll be readily apparent what you haven't taken responsibility for and what you need to finalize and work through. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this is a big one for Cancers. And so for Cancers, especially who have been experiencing relationship issues, this is going to highlight your role and your responsibility in creating those issues in your relationship. It's not just your partner there. It takes two to tango, two people to create a foundation and a structure for your relationship. If you've been having issues and you have not been putting in the work on your side, that will come up and you will see that, and it'll be very, very apparent, and it'll be impossible to ignore this week. And this is a wake-up call. This is like, hey, I thought things were getting better. I thought we were working through this energy, but I actually did not take the proper responsibility and put in the proper work on my end in these certain areas with our relationship. And so now it's coming to pass. Now I have to revisit it. And, it's going to show you where you have fallen short when it comes to self-responsibility in this area. This is also going to highlight opportunities to let go of the past when it comes to your relationships. And so even if you're not currently in a relationship, this could be you having to work through and finally cut those cords, let go of past baggage in relationships, and transform your relationships into what you truly want, need, and desire in the future. If there's baggage you're holding on to, you're not going to have secure, really deeply intimate relationships into the future moving forward. And so that's something that you really have to pay attention to, focus on, and do and revisit. And especially if you had relationship stuff that came up in the spring that maybe started to manifest but never fully came into fruition, now's the time for you to work through that. There's something else that you need to do in order to finalize that energy. This could be potentially an old flame coming back around, but if it is, it's to clear up karma, or to, transform that relationship and reintegrate them in some way. If it was a positive experience for you, but there's some work that's going to be required in order to make that, dream a reality. And this could also be a relationship coming in for a lot of Cancer people, especially Cancer rising people around that 13th degree. So I would say anywhere from 10 to 16 degrees, because this is a weaker eclipse. You're going to be feeling that really intensely, where there could be a relationship that could come in that feels familiar. It feels synchronous. It feels like you were meant to meet up with this person. It doesn't have to be romantic. And it's something that you need to pay attention to. This is somebody that's there in your life for a reason, and it'll be apparent. You'll feel it in that way. All right. And then for Leo and Leo rising. So for you guys, this is a lot of work. This is going to highlight where you have not been living up to your true potential, where you haven't been putting in the work or taking responsibility for your role in creating burdensome or challenging situations that need to be transformed in relationship to your health, right? So how are you responsible for your health outcomes? How are you responsible for the way that you feel on a day-to-day basis? Are you putting in the work? Are you exercising daily? Are you eating the right foods? Are you caring for your body in a way that's regimented and disciplined? because it's work, right? Taking care of your body in this day and age for every single person across the board requires some sort of work, because we are bombarded with toxic food, toxic air, toxic water, toxic electromagnetic frequencies. You have to fight to win, right? Even if you're in typically good health, this is an area where people need to take responsibility and they need to put in some effort. So this might show you where maybe you thought that you overcame these challenges and you've fallen short in some way. And so you have to revisit and commit yourself to a more disciplined regimen in that way, so you can transform your experience. This can also show underlying emotional and psychological issues contributing to your health. And this can be a time of powerful healing where you can have huge transformations in your health as well. It's kind of like you're working at it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have a breakthrough. And especially if you're looking at the psycho-emotional components to your health as well. This is also going to be highlighting what you need to let go of in terms of your daily habits and routines with your work in order to move forward and to have an experience with your career, with your job, with your day-to-day work life that's more in alignment with your truest and deepest desires. This is also going to show you where you have a personal responsibility to show up in service of other people that you have been neglecting. And so that could come up as well. And maybe you've been working toward that, but you've kind of let it slide, or there are certain things that you didn't realize there were cracks in, and you need to re-solidify that foundation. But this is going to be about exposing cracks in the foundation of your work, your daily routines, your health habits, and the way that you show up in service of other people. This is going to show you where you're not in alignment with your truest and deepest needs, wants, and desires on a day-to-day level. And this is going to highlight what you need to do over the next few months to really make this area solid. And this is really setting you up for the next 30-year cycle of Saturn. This is setting you up for success, and you can have profound breakthroughs in these areas, but you have to put in the work. And if you're not taking responsibility, if you're blaming other people for your issues in this area, that is going to come back to haunt you right now. So you want to make sure that you are taking responsibility and looking at where is your role in this, because even if it's not all, to do with you, you're playing a role in this in one way or another. So what is that role, and how can you work harder to create what you want when it comes to your work, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your day-to-day life? All right, Virgo and Virgo rising. This energy is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of joy and fun and things that you do because you love to do them. And so this is actually a more positive energy for Virgos, because especially if you're a Virgo sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees. So lots of Virgos are going to be experiencing this in a very positive way. This eclipse will actually be trining your sun, moon, or rising sign, or you'll have that Pluto-Jupiter conjunction trining or Saturn trining. And so this is a time where you have to restructure your life, your experience, your goals, your orientation in some way to align yourself more completely and fully with your deepest desires, with your deepest passions, with the things that light you up and get you really excited, with your creative process, right? Your hobbies, your interests, things that you do because you love to do them. You need to integrate that more so into your experience and the way that you show up in the world. This could also highlight cracks or faults in the structure or foundation in your relationship with your children if you have any. So you might have to go back, reinforce, revisit that energy in some way. Or this could be a transformative experience where you transform your relationship with your children. This could be you working really hard to take the things that you love and turn them into something practical and usable on a day-to-day level. And this is exposing where maybe there's still some work to be done. But really this is exposing where you really need to focus more on your creativity, your joy, the things that bring you pleasure, and having more fun and excitement in your life. And sometimes that takes work, because we have to restructure our lives in a way that supports that, right? Because if we're bogged down by work responsibility, childcare, this, that, the other thing, we might not have time for our desires, for the things that we love, that we feel connected to on that heart level. And so there is a bit of restructuring there. There are some things you need to let go of in order to really align yourself with your passions and desires this week and into the next couple of weeks. or next couple of months, actually, I should say, especially the next couple of weeks, definitely the next few months. So for Libra and for Libra rising, another cardinal sign, and as I mentioned at the start of this video, the cardinal signs are going to be feeling this the most intensely. You're going to be going through the deepest transformations and having the most powerful experiences with this eclipse energy, with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, and with Saturn retrograding back into Capricorn. This is going to highlight something that you really need to let go of. It's like you need to let go of the past. You need to move on from something involving your family relationships, your ancestral lineage, your relationship with your parents. This could be you having to own up to certain responsibilities in those areas for what you've created in terms of your relationship with your family. This could be you having to take a good hard look at your living situation and the people that you're surrounding yourself with in your home environment, and your relationships with people in the home, or your relationships with people related to issues pertaining to property and property ownership, property rentals, things like that, where you could have to face some challenges, and you could have been facing some challenges already in these areas. But maybe there's something that you haven't been looking at, that you've been ignoring, neglecting, or blaming others for. This is a wake-up call and a highlight where it's going to be illuminated. Anywhere where you need to take responsibility and face some challenges, rework something, face things head on in that area, or where you need to let go of something and move on from the past because it's bogging you down and preventing you from moving forward and focusing on expanding on your career goals and plans. This is the time. What do you want to come home to? What do you want that to look like? And how can you take responsibility for transforming that area of your life into what you truly need, want, and desire? If you are a Libra sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 13 to 30 degrees, this is going to be particularly challenging. There could be interpersonal issues or issues in relationships that come up where it's like you need to finally just cut someone off, or let go of the past, or let go of a certain partnership in business, marriage, friendship, relationships in general. This could be where you really have to look at where other people are maybe weighing you down, or where maybe if you want to keep a certain relationship, you need to put in the work and look at your role in creating the hardship or difficulties or challenge in that relationship. So that way you can work toward aligning those relationships with your truest and deepest desires for what you want for your life and for yourself moving forward. All right, for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this energy is happening in your third house, which is the house of communication. It's the house of day-to-day communication. It's the house of your neighbors, your community, your neighborhood. It's the house of vehicles and short distance travel. It's the house of siblings and extended family members. And so this is going to highlight something really important that you need to take responsibility for, and that maybe you need to let go of or move on from, related to all of those themes. And so maybe there is a need to restructure your relationships with people in your community, like your neighbors in your neighborhood, and you think that they need to do the work or whatever, but maybe it's you. This could also be you revisiting something really important that you've been working really hard on in relationship to some sort of educational pursuit or teaching pursuit or writing pursuit that maybe you have to revisit and put in some extra work, or maybe you haven't realized that there are challenges in your communication on a day-to-day level that are maybe partially your fault, and that you have to kind of take the blame or the responsibility for transforming, working through, creating. This is where it's one final chance to really get things solid in the area of the third house. And so what vehicles do you want to have? What do you want your day-to-day commute to look like? What do you want your community to look like? What do you want your relationship with your siblings to look like? What do you want your marketing routine or strategy to look like? What do you want your education to look like in the future? And how can you revisit that energy in order to create that, to really get in alignment with what you deeply need and desire? This could also be you about communicating from a place of deep passion, truth, and authenticity, and looking at where you haven't been doing that and taking responsibility for that, right? Maybe you're bored, like on a mental level, and you need to do something to get away or to break free from that, to align yourself with your passions. And now's the time to do it. Now's the time where this will happen for you. But you have to let go of old structures, old conditioning, old preconceived notions of how things should be in order to make that happen. This is also a time that can be actually really positive and powerful for your relationships, especially if you are a Scorpio rising, anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees. I mean, there's going to be some sort of powerful energy or transformation in your relationships, or even new relationships that come into your life, or old relationships that come back around that you need to reintegrate in some way. And these are very karmic and very significant. So you have to pay close attention because it's coming up for a reason. All right, for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for you guys, this is happening in your second house of finance. There is something here that you need to pay attention to. This is highlighting all of the hard work that you've been putting in to transform your financial situation. And it's looking at where there are still, where there's still sort of power and control being held over your head, where things still feel restrictive or intense in some way, where you're feeling the burden of like maybe power or control that's coming in from an outside source when it comes to your financial situation. And so this could be you taking a look at your budget, your savings, your debt situation, and saying, okay, I really need to fix this. I really need to do something once and for all that's going to help me to align better with what I truly need, want, and desire when it comes to finances. You could have had over the past year especially, or over the past few months especially, this energy of really working really hard, toiling away, having some setbacks, challenges, restrictions financially, and then all of a sudden having these big bursts of transformation and change, or even like financial windfalls on a small level or even a big level. And so you're going to be revisiting some of this energy. So you might have those same experiences again. You might have to face some of those challenges, that feeling of restriction, limitation, pressure financially, in order to create what you really truly want for yourself on that financial level. So that's going to be a big thing. So it's looking at, what do you really desire for yourself, material, like on the material level, and what is your responsibility in creating that, and what do you need to do or cut back on in order to make that a reality. So and this could even be you kind of revisiting this energy of needing to or it could just be showing you like, hey, you've been putting in this work, you let go of a lot of burden financially, and this is the reward for that, right? That could be part of it as well. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this energy is occurring in your first house, so this is all about you. So you've been having to really restructure your entire life. Capricorns have been going through a major upheaval, a major restructuring, a major closing, ending, releasing of karma, letting go of an old way of being in order to make space for something new. And so this is revisiting that energy. This might be revisiting some sort of challenge or hardship that could have come to you on a personal level, where you felt a lot of weight and responsibility at the start of this year. That might come back around or start to come back around this week. And it's showing you where you haven't really taken care of that challenge, where you haven't faced it head on, or where you haven't taken responsibility for something that you personally really need to take responsibility for and work through and push through that challenge. This could bring about an energy of transformation. And so you might have some sort of big, major transformation, major upheaval, major windfall that occurs for you this week on a very personal level that could impact you personally, that could impact you in your career, in your family life, in your home and living situation, and in your relationships. This is also a period where it's not necessarily all about you. This is about, yes, you have this burden, you have all this work to do, you're kind of restructuring who you are, you're changing your life to fit into alignment with your truth, right? You're letting go of old conditioning, old patterns, old habits, and you're becoming more of who you are on a deeper level. You're aligning yourself with your truth, your passion, your integrity, and that's a lot of work. And that's definitely part of it. But there's also this energy of, this isn't all about you. This is about working through your stuff and cutting out things that are not in alignment with who you truly are, and also focusing less on your needs and focusing more on developing and building relationship. And that's going to be highlighted too. So where you still need to do that work on a personal level in order to have better relationships, that's going to be highlighted right now. So that's part of this energy that's coming up for you this week. Big transformative energy for Capricorns. A lot of Capricorns are going to be making huge leaps and bounds, major shifts, and also experiencing it as stressful, but also very profound. Like you can have with that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, especially if you have your Capricorn rising sun or moon near that 24th degree, like all of a sudden your whole world changes, and it changes for the better. But it does require some work on your end, and it does require you to let go of the past in order to make that space, in order to make that transformation. All right, and then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for you guys, this full moon's happening in your 12th house. And so this has been a lot of energy around endings and letting go of things. A lot of things unraveling, a lot of time spent in solitude, seclusion, contemplation, a lot of past life karma coming up and coming back around, where things feel strangely synchronous, where things feel like, okay, this is coming up because I need to end this or complete it or let it go in some way. A lot of very interesting information and work being done through your dreams, through your spiritual practices, through visualizations and meditations and things like that. This is a time where if there's anything that you haven't let go of, if there's anything that you still need to clear away in order to make space for the cosmic reset that's going to be happening with Saturn and Aquarius hitting your ascendant sun or moon, this is going to be a time where that's going to come up for you. It's like you're holding on to baggage from the past that you really, really need to let go of. And you can really deeply transform this energy so that way you can align yourself with what you truly need, want, and desire moving forward. But you have to be willing to let go. So something needs to be cleared away. Something needs to be ended, especially this week. But really, this is over the next couple of months. You might have to work on it. It might take some time. This could also be you revisiting energy involving 12th house institutions that occurred at the beginning of this year. And so 12th house institutions include things like hospitals, prisons, rehabilitation centers, retreat centers, places that you go to be hidden away from the world or to be away from society in general. This could also be you really wanting to work towards something charitable. This is the house of giving back, and this is like a selfless house where everything is interconnected. And so if you're thinking about starting or launching a charity organization or something involving charity, or like a compassionate act came out for you or first came about for you at the start of this year, maybe you lost sight of it, and now is the time where you can revisit that work and really move into it. All right, and then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon eclipse energy and all of the Capricorn energy is piling up in your 11th house of friends, social networks, groups of people you surround yourself with by choice. This week is all about relationships. It's all about networks. It's all about your friends, your communications, your connections with other people. This is showing you because you've been working really hard on cutting cords and cutting out people that are just not going to be loyal or trustworthy, relationships that are not solid, practical, there for you, long lasting. You're letting go of all of that, and you've been letting go of all of that. This is going to show you, it's going to highlight to you where you have still some connections and some friendships or some relationships in your life that are not in alignment with what you truly need, want, and desire, where people are not loyal, where they are not living up to their end of their responsibility in your friendships, connections, relationships, and where you maybe need to move on. And maybe you haven't moved on because you have some sort of emotional attachment or past connection to them that is leaving you wanting to be in these connections and these relationships. It's like, but we've been friends since childhood, or I feel so connected to this person. I feel like I've known them for an eternity, but that relationship is toxic, or that relationship is just not solid anymore. And so this is showing you where you need to let go of that in order to transform all of your relationships, but especially friendships and those types of platonic connections, where you need to transform that. And you need to find people that are so trustworthy, that are so deeply connected to you, and that you align with on that deep, true level. You need to make space for those people, because those people are few and far between, but when you find them, there are important connections. And so it's going to show you where you're still holding on to maybe some connections from the past, or you need to live up to your end of the responsibility when it comes to your role in creating toxic friendships or toxic relationships, or maybe you're not being solid in your relationships, and these are really good, important relationships to you. Maybe you have relationships that are deeply meaningful and friendships that are deeply meaningful, and you realize that you've been neglecting them and that you're not taking responsibility and you're not putting in the work to maintain or sustain those friendships. If that's the case, then this is the time for you to really solidify that, because if you don't do that, these people will fall away and you'll miss them. So it's kind of like reevaluating your friendships. Is this a person that you're not connecting with because of something that you're doing and you really want to be connected to them? Or is this a person that they're just kind of like flaky and all over the place and they're not loyal to you and they're not going to be a solid friendship or a solid connection moving forward? So you need to move on. So whose end is this on? Is this like a really worthwhile connection? And what do you need to do to re-solidify that energy if that is a really worthwhile connection? Because this is about you taking responsibility for either letting that go or creating a better foundation moving forward. And this could be related also to close personal relationships, personal friendships, or even romantic connections as well. Where are you not putting in the work? Where do you need to restructure that relationship? Where do you need to re-solidify that foundation? All right. For the most part though, for Pisces, this is going to show up in a positive way, in kind of an easier way, where it'll be easy to identify. It'll be easy to work through this energy. It'll happen quite naturally, as opposed to some of the other signs where this is a little bit more harsh. And so, yeah, you could have like this eye-opening experience, but it'll be easy to resolve, or you'll understand how to resolve it quite easily. So it'll be readily apparent for you. So it won't be quite as challenging, even though you do have to put in some effort. All right, so that was the forecast, you guys, for all 12 signs. Big week in the astrology. So definitely this is a time for self-reflection, reevaluation, and this is a time where important things that we've been working on for a long time that maybe we thought we were done with are going to be illuminated. So we need to finalize that energy. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel so you never miss a forecast, and please share this information with your friends if you feel like it'll be helpful to them, because there's a lot going on. This is a big year. It's very challenging for a lot of people. And my goal is to just provide as much insight as I can so that way you guys can navigate this, because it's important. All right. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.